The last few days have been... Anyway, in an attempt to try and keep some sense of normalcy on the channel, let's try and have a sort of normal video. But before I get going, let's address a big mistake that I made on Monday about EV heating in winter. In it, I implied that PTC and resistive heaters were different when in reality they heat using the same principle, and I also didn't really explain what I meant about energy efficiency very well. Resistive heaters are very energy efficient in so much as they turn 100% or near as damn it of the energy they consume into heat. That makes them super energy efficient from an energy consumption standpoint, but in an electric vehicle they don't do good things for overall vehicle efficiency, because they do use a lot more energy to heat the cabin up than a heat pump, which transfers heat energy from outside to inside of the vehicle and therefore uses less energy from the battery pack to heat the cabin. I also didn't look at Tesla's octovalve system or explain how it works, and in retrospect, that was a big error. We're going to try and do a decent dive on that in the near future, but as always, when we screw up, I do think it's important to acknowledge that, and it wasn't our best video in terms of research, explanations, or script. So we're sorry. And on to today's video, which isn't about electric car heating, but instead about a pretty big security breach at Nissan, one which resulted in the source code for many of Nissan's connected services being made publicly accessible online. So today we're going to look at what happened and ask if your Nissan Leaf or other Nissan connected car is safe, what Nissan has done in response, and what you can do about it if you're worried. First, let's deal with the leak. It involved Gits, and I'm not talking about old men. Git is a well-respected software service, or version control system to use its official title, that allows software developers to safely store the code base for whatever it is they're working on. It can be deployed on a company server or in a cloud-based server, and it makes it easy for different people to manage and collaborate on projects, even if they are on the other side of the planet. And in addition to storing and managing code base, iterations, and documentation, it's also used by some people to serve basic websites and store other important documents. Companies that do a lot of development might have a whole server dedicated to a Git service, or indeed a whole server rack with backup Git servers in different parts of the world for different parts of the company. But companies who don't want to worry about physically hosting their own Git servers, but want to make use of one, may pay a hosting company to host their Git server in the cloud somewhere, or actually use a commercial Git repository hosting service like GitHub, Bitbucket, and countless others. Nissan, like many large companies, uses Git servers to keep track of the large amount of software it creates, and it uses Bitbucket as its online Git server of choice. Usually such online services are tightly controlled, with strict limits on who can access the software and who can change the software. But it turns out that one of Nissan's Git repositories had been set up, either in a hurry or been set up by someone who didn't think twice about security settings, and allegedly they left the cringeworthy default username and password combination for the instance the same: admin, admin. For those who don't know, it's fairly common for software and hardware manufacturers to code a basic username and password combination into their software. It's only meant to give you access long enough to change that and the administrator credentials to something a whole lot more secure. But in this case, nobody did, which means when someone with a little curiosity came across a public-facing internet address for the system and tried admin, they got the keys to the kingdom. Side note, admin is an old hacker trick, and frankly one I've used in the past to gain access to someone's Wi-Fi system before then sending its owner a scathing email with a more secure password that I changed it to. But suffice to say, don't be like Nissan. Secure your system before adding it to the internet. And yes, I have done stupid things like that in the past too, like opening myself an SSH backdoor into the company video server, which is now closed, that gave a hacker who wasn't happy about how we treated Elon Musk the ability to get in, find the security credentials for our company website, and then bring that website to its knees. But I digress. This time, as is usually the case when someone makes a boo-boo like that, someone found out about the back door by just digging through the internet, and thus a software engineer from Switzerland made details of that insecure connection public this week. Inside the compromised Git server was details of code for Nissan North American mobile apps, a partial code base of Nissan's Assist diagnostic system, a Nissan internal core mobile library, Nissan and Infinity NCAR and iCar services, dealer portals and business systems, vehicle logistics tools, marketing tools, and a whole slew of Nissan connected services software. With all of this code base, anyone with access to it could either use the source code to write their own apps to access Nissan's services, or, maybe figure out existing weaknesses in Nissan's systems for later exploitation. Suffice to say, the code base has now been shared on BitTorrent, Telegram, and I presume other less public, more nefarious areas of the internet. Now, Nissan has issued a public statement in response stating, quote, "We take this type of matter seriously and are conducting an investigation. But as far as I could tell, that's all Nissan's done." As is usually the case with software leaks, it sometimes takes a while to patch the hole, and with the code base now public, it's kind of hard to put that particular genie back into the bottle, which, if you're someone who owns a Nissan Leaf, Nissan EMV200, or some other connected Nissan, could pose some interesting questions. Namely, is your car safe? Should you use the internet-connected functionality of your vehicle? And what's next? First, I want to reiterate that I am not a coding expert, so what I'm going to say is based on limited hobbyist knowledge rather than anything more professional. But obviously, whenever codebase is leaked, it is not a good thing for the person who wants to make use of that code. And when it involves a car, well, it's even more concerning. But unless I'm very much mistaken, there's not a lot in the Nissan Connected Car service that could do anything really bad with your car, such as causing it to drive itself off the road or suddenly fail to respond to the brake pedal. That's because I believe that the connected telematics system is not directly connected to the car's basic control system. But someone could use the base to access personal information associated with your car. They could access more, especially if there's a database containing customer information in the leaked information. But I'm going to come to that in a moment, so just hang tight. Those with the base code could, and probably will, be able to figure out the passwords that people use to connect to Nissan's telematics services. And it is possible that they might also be able to access vehicle identification information, or indeed poll random cars for their location, speed, state of charge, and other information, which we know CarWings has stored in the past. Malicious actors could use the source code to get customers' cars to do random things too, like turn on the climate control while parked, or lock and unlock the car, especially if they have access to the car's VIN number. And since the VIN is easily readable on most cars, that's not good. It might not mean your car will drive off on its own, but it could mean someone would be able to access your car. Of course, I would hope at this point that someone at Nissan has already changed the security settings and is rushing to push out an update, but having asked some of you guys earlier today if you were still able to access your Nissan Leaf via Nissan's smartphone app, I was given some mixed responses. Some of you said you could, some of you said you couldn't, and some of you said it hadn't been working for months or years. Which leaves us where? Well, it leaves us in a position where caution is probably the better course of action. If you're at all worried, I think the best solution right now is to sign out of your Nissan services on your smartphone and deactivate it in your car's infotainment system. You can do this by going to the CarWings or Nissan Connect session of your car's infotainment menu system, depending on the age of the car, and signing out of the services there. If you sign out, it means your car can't connect to Nissan's services, and I hope means that Nissan servers can't access your car either. As a belt and braces, then I'd recommend you sign into Nissan's web portal on your computer or tablet and change your password. I will hope by now that you're using a password manager, which makes passwords harder to guess and ensures each password is unique. But as I've already said, if this source code, which I haven't seen myself, gives backdoor accesses, then the password change effectiveness may not be a surefire way to prevent unauthorized access to your vehicle. And since some of the code that this leak exposes shows some pretty bad practices, well, I'm going to go for the disconnect my car from the service for now. If you're outside of North America, it's not clear if this breach causes security issues in other markets, but again, better be safe than sorry until Nissan clarifies it's solved the issue. That's it. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.